Hi Year 12s, welcome back. This is our last exercise for chapter 21. So after this one, make sure you do the chapter review as well, and I will get you that chapter test as well. Alright, so copy down the notes please, make sure you pause the video. Alright, so this last one is called Breakeven Analysis. So it's very similar to simultaneous equations that we just did. So the whole point of this, a few terms you need to know first. So a business generally tries to make a profit. So a business has revenue, so that's the total amount of money they collect. That is not profit. The revenue is how much money they collect, but then they also have costs. So they might have fixed costs, so they might have cost of hiring a factory or something like that. And then they also have variable costs, so it might be things like wages, or if they're making t-shirts, the cost of the fabrics. So there's variable costs that depend on how many units they make, and there's also fixed costs which they can't change, things like hiring a factory or whatever. Alright, so break-even analysis occurs when if a company makes no money, they break even, that's when their costs are equal to the revenue. Can you see that? So the revenue, the money they collect, is exactly the same as the money they put out. That means they've made no money at all. The reason why the break-even point is important is because that works out how many items they have to sell to break even. Then they know that if they sell more than that, they've made a profit. So a profit is the revenue minus the cost. Now if the revenue is greater than the cost, they've made a profit. And unfortunately, they can make a loss if the revenue is smaller than the cost. So the cost is bigger, they get a profit which is negative, which means it's a loss. So the whole idea of having a business is to make a profit. But the break-even analysis, we know that the revenue is equal to the costs. So we find that point, and then we can work out how many you have to sell as a minimum to make money. Alright, let's just do one question and then we're done. So read this question carefully. A company sells items, just say they're t-shirts. They're $20 each. So they're off selling these t-shirts, that's all they make. They get $20 per t-shirt. Now the cost of production is given by this equation. The cost is equal to 4x plus 48. So the $48 here is obviously a fixed cost. So that might be hiring a machine or buying something, or it's just a cost they can't avoid. And then the 4x, the 4 there is the gradient. Remember in our straight line graphs? And that is dependent on x, how many items they sell. So in the case of making t-shirts, it might cost them $4 for the materials and the labour to make them. So each t-shirt literally costs them $4, but then they've also got a fixed cost as well. Alright, so it says here, X is the number of items produced. Find the number of items the company must sell to break even. So I've got a little graph here that we're going to do first. So, we need to find out, firstly, there's two things. The revenue, I'll do the revenue equation first. So the revenue, how much money do we collect? We're getting $20 for each item. X is the number of items. So we're getting 20 times X. That's our revenue equation. R equals 20 times X. And that's it. It's simple. We're getting $20 times by the number of items they've sold. And our cost equation is already given. The cost is 4X plus 48. So there's our cost equation. We're going to solve these simultaneously using CAS in just a second, but let's graph it here, just so we've got some understanding of what's going on. The revenue is 20x, so the gradient is 20, so it's quite steep. Alright, revenue equals 20x. And the cost equation has a y-intercept of 48, but the gradient's only 4, so it's a very low gradient, and that one's the cost. So I'll write the whole equation in. Was 4x plus 48. Alright, so this point here is the point of intersection. That is a break-even analysis. That's where we've broken even. And whatever that number there is, that's the quantity we need to break even. So anything below this here, this is where we make a loss. Because if you look here, the cost is greater than the revenue. The revenue is lower than the cost. So this is a loss, this area here. From that there to there, from 0 to whatever that value is. From that value onwards, this is where we make a profit. So anywhere that way, from there onwards we make a profit. Because you see the revenue is greater than the cost. And you see there the difference is only small, but as we go further along, the difference is greater. So we're making a bigger profit. This here is the amount of profit we make. At this point here, we've made zero profit. We've broken even though, and this is the amount of loss, remember. Alright, so how do we work it out? We know that the break-even point is where the revenue is equal to the cost. So there's our two equations. The revenue equation is 20x, and our cost equation is 4x plus 48. So we let those two equal each other. Now using the solve function on CAS, you can just type that in, and remember comma x at the end, and go solve. Or you can use common sense. So minus 4x from both sides, 16x equals 48. Divide both sides by 16, and I believe that's 3. So x equals 3. So you can answer the question in words. You must, or the business must, sell 3 items to break even. And that's it, everyone. So if you wanted to find out what the money is, how much money that is, if you can substitute x equals 3 into either equation. So for the revenue, and you'll get the same answer, 20 times 3, you've made $60 if you've sold 3 t-shirts. And the cost is 4 times 3, because 4x is 3 plus 48. 4 3s are 12 plus 48. And the cost is also $60. So when you've sold 3 items, your income, or the amount of money you've collected is $60, but your cost is also $60. So therefore, you've made no money. But anything after 3 items, you're making a profit. If you sold 0, 1 or 2, you've made a loss. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense, everyone. You've got to spend a bit of time on these. These take a while, so do all the questions in the exercise. 21H is the exercise, and then please do the chapter review. And I'll have some more videos up, and I'll see you soon, everyone. Bye.